My name is Fred Foreman. I'm the retired Chief Judge for the 19th Judicial Circuit and formerly Lake County State's Attorney from 1980 through 1990, and I'm here making the case for the re-election of Mike Nerheim as Lake County State's Attorney. Well, the Lake County State's Attorney's Office traditionally has been one of the most important countywide offices because you are the chief law enforcement officer, and for many, many years, an experienced prosecutor has been the state's attorney. That means that the state's attorney came from the office, was an assistant state's attorney, prosecuted cases under the direction of a state's attorney. I was the state's attorney from 1980 through 1990, and I became a United States attorney under President Bush in 1990. And I've also had the opportunity to observe all the assistant state's attorneys because I was a trial court judge from 2004 to 2012, and I went on to become the chief judge and worked with Mike Nerheim. And I'm a firm believer that anybody who is going to be the state's attorney should have prior prosecution experience, and it's even more beneficial if he's got experience in the Lake County State's Attorney's Office. Mike has been really very important in that aspect of it because he's inherited some issues that he had to make changes and make sure that cases were properly screened and that evidence was properly evaluated because unfortunately times change and there may have been some problems initially in some of these cases, and he's actually organized a group of private attorneys to review cases that might appear to have some problems in the way they arrived at a verdict. And I think what he's also done, and I'm a firm believer, is at the beginning or entry into the criminal justice system when an individual is charged, he's cooperated with the courts and the defense attorneys to expedite DNA testing and scientific testing, fingerprints, to try and alleviate the review of the cases, which would result in a bad result where someone that may be charged with a crime even though there's insufficient evidence to proceed. I think that it's important to have a level playing field. It doesn't do you any good to have a disadvantage on one side or the other because when the appellate court sees how that case was handled, it's incumbent on the trial court to make sure there was that level playing field. Well, Mike handled cases personally in front of me when I was a trial court judge. He was always prepared. He was always very capable in his presentation of the evidence. He was sensitive to the rights of the defendants. He understood when he needed to negotiate a case. He understood when there had been misconduct by various members of law enforcement and brought it to the attention of the court. He was also very responsible and continues to be responsible for supervising the lawyers in his office to make sure that they do not violate any of the required discovery standards where they must produce the evidence that they have to the defense so there's no surprise in the trial. Well, I believe that a deferred prosecution program is a good program for a first offender. I think that too many times a first offender may be faced with a very serious crime that resulted from irresponsible, foolish misconduct or bad judgment, and it sticks with them the rest of his life or her life. So if they can be given a second chance, I think that's important. One of his initiatives, which certainly is a difference in the way these cases were handled before, is the opioid initiative, where heroin and opium used to always be considered an inner city problem. No longer is. It's in the suburbs as well, and there's overdoses, there's drug-induced homicides, and he's taken a really compassionate look at it and said, sometimes an offender who's addicted has to be able to self-report, and the best place to go is a police station. The implementation of Narcan, which is something that can be administered by the police or an EMT where someone has experienced an overdose, can reverse it. There's a whole different outlook, and I think Mike has been a person that's been giving some positive support to that initiative. He's doing the things that he promised he would do when he ran for election in 2012. He is becoming a national leader and a state leader in law enforcement. He's highly respected by his peers and the courts. His assistant state's attorneys respect him as a leader because he's got experience. We've had incidents in the past where we've had a state's attorney that didn't have that experience, did not work in the office, and it wasn't a good experience. So I think that he's achieved everything he set out to achieve, and he still is trying to improve the system. And I think that's a good reason that he should be given a second term.